I learned Blender. If you don't know what Blender is, then we were on the same page. As of a few hours ago, I didn't know anything about Blender, but I had it installed and booted it up for the first time. I followed along Pixel 3D's video on low poly 3D model. The thing about starting is that you make mistakes a lot, and I didn't really know how to fix them. I'm just gonna play a 50 times speed video of me figuring it out and having some fun, as you can see. I would like you guys to meet Timothy. He's an Olympic swimmer, and he's never been beat before, so this is the kind of feat guys are talking about when they say they're 6'3". I put the clip back to 50 times speed here. I skipped a little bit, but I fixed Timothy up and gave my man some ankles. I gave Timothy a nice neck, nice and high and back. I'm not gonna lie, Timothy's kind of on the thicker side. I'm gonna have to fix him up a little later. Let's give Timothy a head so we can see who we're looking at, although we're not going to be able to tell much because it's all low poly. Spent a little bit of extra time giving my dude a chin. I decided I'd remove a few lines on the side of his head to help with the low poly. Oh my gosh. I just killed Timothy. He's only being held by his chin. Oh, never mind. Timothy's fine. Don't worry, guys. Let's get back at it. Afterwards, I went back to modifiers and added another modifier called Subdivision Surface, I think it's called. And oh my gosh, Timothy's packing more than me. Timothy's booties also had a bit of a droop, but I'm going to be honest, I don't know how to fix any of this. Let's put it back at 50 times speed real quick. And must I say, Timothy's also a very bendy boy. I don't know what stretches Timothy does or what chiropractor he goes to, but he needs to hit me up. I adjusted Timothy's feet and start to give him fingers too. Right here I decided to give Timothy thumbs, so I rotated his wrists and extruded his thumbs out, giving him thumbs. With the low poly, they looked a little messed up. I don't know if that's normal. Apparently Timothy's also a pro player at ping pong. Spent a little bit more time on his thumbs as I was actually having quite a bit of trouble, but eventually I decided to pretty much just restart his entire thumb, as you can see right here, and just redid everything. Even still, I ran into some problems, but eventually I got it working. Right here I tried to fix Timothy's pecker, but accidentally removed his entire stomach in the process and probably killed him. But with the power of Control Z, he got back to life. I then lifted his shoulders and tried to raise his chest, which did not work out that well either. I decided to add a few extra lines to his body, or whatever these are called, I don't know. But I decided that if I were to place these, it would probably blow up my entire PC, so I decided not to. Although I am kind of interested in what would happen. I kept working on Timothy's chest because my boy doesn't skip chest day, but accidentally removed his chest in the process. But I was able to fix it and fix his beer belly and also fix his back posture a little bit. After fixing Timothy's back posture, I decided to put the subdivision surface back on and see what was happening. Unfortunately for me, Timothy was still packing and I still had competition. I let Timothy know that I couldn't let this slide and I had to find out some way to remove it. I ended up figuring out there was a wall inside of his body which was creating points there. My competition was now gone and I decided to give Timothy a chin. I worked on Timothy's face, and whatever I did to give Timothy a pecker, I accidentally did to his face, and he had another line that I didn't know how to get rid of. This time there was no wall inside of his body, so I didn't know what to do. I ended up saying screw it and finished the model right there. I was done. I then decided to work on some lower, easier models to make, and decided to make a box, just in case I want to use it in the future if I were ever to make a game. At this point I was listening to my music on Spotify and was pretty much just cruising through. This box was really easy to make and I'm kind of happy with how it came out, even though how simple it was. I then started to make a shotgun just in case I ever wanted to have a gun in the game, and decided to make 4 barrels, but then decided not to and try to make a double barrel shotgun. This didn't turn out too well, so then I went with the easy low poly 1 barrel guns that you see in most low poly games. At this point I would like to take a few seconds to ask you to like and subscribe. At the making of this video I currently have 0 subscribers and I'm pretty much down bad and I'm begging you. Alright, let's get back to this disappointment of a shotgun. Why is it a disappointment, you may say? Well, if you see, I put a stock on, but then I decided to put another handle, and shotguns don't work like that. If you don't know anything about shotguns, usually the handle transitions into the stock. I then added a trigger and then added in a little reload thing on the side. I think this is kind of obvious, but you never know these days. Thank goodness the shotgun is over. I then decided to make a can, because if I'm going to make games, I'm going to make maps, and some maps are going to have trash on the ground. Just like that, the can is over, and it was that easy. I then decided to make a sword, and I actually had a bit of trouble making this. I was having trouble to get edges to be evenly in the center, but eventually I got it and was able to extend the blade. I wanted to make the blade sharp, but was having trouble at the base of the blade, but eventually I got it figured out. I was also very happy with how this blade turned out, because at this time I only had about 3 hours of experience in Blender. I made a sledgehammer which looked pretty sexy and by far was my best self-made 3D model. I decided that boxes weren't enough, so I made a concrete barricade, and this also turned out really well, but I had a little trouble making the loops. That's all the modeling I did. This took me about 3.5 hours with all this modeling. I also had to learn how to use Filmora, and by the end of doing this, it took me about 2.5 hours to edit. If my math is correct, that's 6 hours, which honestly isn't that bad, and if you guys want it, I'd easily do it again. With that, that's all I have for you guys today, so I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.